Are you a first-time home buyer or looking to purchase a home in Manitoba and you're not exactly sure where to start? Well, you've come to the right place. Because at the Boschman team, we feel that it's super important to have as much information as possible when looking to make one of the largest financial decisions in your life. After all, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. So in this video, I'm going to go through our step-by-step detailed process of buying a home in Manitoba and hopefully provide some helpful tips and tricks that can help make your home buying decision and experience a great one. If you see value in these videos and the content that I put out, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, my business, and is very much appreciated. Alternatively, if you're looking to purchase a home anywhere in Winnipeg, Manitoba, or surrounding areas, or have questions about buying, please reach out to me anytime. My contact info is in the description below, and it would be an absolute honor to earn your trust in business in the future. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. So here we are. You've made the decision to get into the market and purchase your first home. First of all, congrats, because that's a huge and honestly very admirable decision to make. But where do we start? The plan that I use is step by step, and it's based on 3 phases, and each of those phases has 3 steps. The first phase of this process is called the prep phase. Normally, when people are first starting out and they contact me, I like to have a full buyer consultation with them. This is part of that prep phase. This can be done over the phone, in a Zoom call, in person, and honestly, sometimes for people that are super eager to get going or in a rush, this can actually happen at the first showing. Typically, these conversations consist of me trying to get a full sense of what you're looking for, your timeline, your plan for financing, and then ultimately getting into the rest of the process. In the prep phase, we like to make sure that the purchasers are aware of the cost of purchasing a home, and that's the first step. Making sure you have your deposit and your down payment in order, and that you understand the land transfer tax and all the closing costs that are associated with purchasing that home. In Canada, for example, you can qualify for a mortgage with as little as 5% down. But if you're able to put down at least 20%, you can cut out what's called default mortgage insurance, and ultimately more money will go towards your principal portion of the mortgage. My job is to make sure that the purchasers are aware of all of these things in detail so we don't have any bumps or surprises down the road. That leads into the second step, and in my opinion, the most important step of all, and that is making sure that you have your pre-approval in place. And no, that doesn't mean filling out an online application where you put in some preliminary information and it spits numbers back at you saying you're pre-approved, blah, blah, blah. It means getting in touch with a mortgage specialist from a financial institution, whether that's your bank or credit union, or speaking with an independent mortgage broker. Sitting down with them or filling out a proper mortgage application along with all the required down payment and income verification, as well as a credit check, and making sure that everything is perfectly fine financially for you and your plan moving forward. Now, the reason why we want to make sure that this is done properly is because there can and have been circumstances where people get a simple pre-qualification from their bank, they take it as gold, and then they proceed to go through the process of falling in love with a home, writing an offer, and then having the financing not go through because something unexpected or missed that would have otherwise showed up during a proper pre-approval process. My job as your realtor is to make sure that there's no heartbreak during this otherwise exciting home buying process. So getting all the ducks sorted out ahead of time, getting that pre-approval ahead of time will also strengthen your confidence, because we know that when you go to see a home and then you fall in love with that home, you can proceed with writing that offer, and then you know there's not going to be any surprises. Now, the third step of the prep phase is to create a needs and a wants list. To start out, I would recommend that you create a needs list of items that are non-negotiables, meaning you must have them, and this is the whole reason why you're deciding to purchase a home in the first place. And then I would go ahead and create the wants list, or the this would be nice to have list. But this list is not necessarily deal breakers. The needs list, this should consist of things like location, bedrooms, a garage or room to build a garage. Whereas the wants list, this should consist of things like it would be nice to have an updated kitchen, it would be nice to have a certain type of flooring, a developed or undeveloped basement, age of the home, things like that. Now, as we look at homes together in real life, these lists, they always evolve and change over time, but typically the list will help to establish a checklist while looking at homes in real life, keeps everybody on track, on the right track during this fun process. Now let's get into the fun phase, phase 2, shopping for a house. As your realtor, this is hands down my favorite part. setting up the searches, scheduling the viewings, showing homes, getting a feel for different areas, and having all the fun conversations with my clients, and ultimately finding that perfect home. Step one in this phase is setting up a targeted home search specifically for you. We have a really cool tool called Keystone Matrix, which is essentially the back-end system of the MLS. It's sort of like the inner workings and behind the scenes of Realtor.ca. This allows me to take your criteria list that you've built and create a targeted search of homes that will auto-populate into a timely automatic email that will send those houses directly to your inbox the minute they hit the market. This is the system that all us realtors in Manitoba use to upload homes and listings onto the MLS and Realtor.ca. So the beauty about getting the auto emails is that you'll actually get access to the listings prior to the actual listing going live on Realtor.ca. Getting set up on this auto email system can come at a significant advantage to you because we can actually see the property before other people can, and oftentimes that may mean getting the jump on the market. The other cool thing about Keystone Matrix is that I can see everything. All of the sold history of past listings, what that property may have sold for, how long it's been on the market for, if they've accepted a conditional offer or not, if there are any supplements on the listing that the listing agent has uploaded, such as a property disclosure statement, a site plan, surveys, reports, and all other pertinent information that's just not available to the browsing consumer just looking at Realtor.ca. And because I have access to all of the sold history and all of the data for a particular area, this will help us to paint a complete picture and back engineer the value of a particular property that you may be interested in. This way we can determine if it's priced fairly, if it's overpriced, or if it's underpriced to start a bidding war. Now, once you're all set up on the searches and you're getting listings directly in your inbox, we can go ahead and move on to step 2. This is the showing phase. Now, this is by far the funnest step for everyone, and it's what I personally look forward to the most. Once you come across houses that catch your eye in your inbox or otherwise, and ones you want to take a look at, my job is to facilitate the scheduling and booking of showings and acquiring access to those properties when it's convenient for your schedule. And then we go ahead and meet at the properties, and I get to show you around. These showings typically can take place during the evenings, weekends, or really any time that works best for you. And it's honestly the only way that someone can get a true sense and feel of the home, because after all, pictures tell lies. Listing agents typically will hire professional photographers to take captivating photos, and while these photos are the best way to get buyers to fall in love with the property online, you definitely need to still see the property in its true form in person to understand the full story. I always recommend to my clients that they should try to truly envision themselves living in that home while we're walking through it. If it truly doesn't feel like home to you, if the layout just doesn't work, or if the potential just isn't there for you, it's best to move on and instead of trying to make it work. It's not worth trying to put a square peg in a round hole. I will show you as many houses as it takes to find the perfect one. Showing properties is also where my experience and my expertise comes into play, coming from a construction background. I have a deep knowledge and understanding of different property types and eras of construction, and I can point out different things to look at or avoid altogether when looking at different types of homes. Once we found that perfect house that you're ready to pull the trigger on, it's time to move into step 3, writing the offer. This is arguably the most nerve-wracking, but also the most exciting part of the whole process. My job as a realtor is to use the tools that I have available, as well as my experience, to guide you through this whole process and suggest an appropriate offer price and terms, all based on current market conditions. Once we determine the best price, terms, and conditions for you and your offer, this is when I go ahead and submit the offer to either the other listing agent, if the property is listed by another realtor, or to the sellers directly, if the offer is being written on either one of my own listings or if it's a private sale. This is where the negotiating starts to come into play. Now, I should mention that there are some circumstances where we will definitely have the ability to negotiate on things like price, possession date, items being included or excluded, and conditions for the benefit of you as the buyer, such as a home inspection, financing, etc. But the market will ultimately dictate as to whether or not we will have the ability to negotiate. So what does that mean? Well, as an example, if you look at years 2020 to 2022, the market was actually heavily weighted towards a seller's market. This means that due to the excessive demand for houses in the market, most properties were actually selling in bidding wars or receiving multiple offers. In this type of market, the sellers will typically set the terms that make the most sense for them, and it's actually rare that you can negotiate on things like price, terms, conditions, and possession, as they're just basically picking the best offer. But as of the date of this video, we have definitely moved into a more balanced or buyer's market where you can actually get away with negotiating on price and everything else. There's now more power in the hands of the buyer, which is great for you. Now, throughout the process, and as we've looked at many properties, we're gonna start to get a feel for what the pricing is like in the areas that you are the most interested in. This is also gonna help us to guide us in the right direction when it comes to an appropriate offer price. Now, when it comes to things like inclusions and exclusions, usually the sellers will already dictate what they're leaving behind and what they want to take with them. The general rule of thumb that I like to use is that if you flip that house upside down and shake it, whatever's bolted to the wall or is a major appliance that's plugged into an outlet, this is considered an inclusion unless it's otherwise stated or written in by the seller. Now, when it comes to conditions for the benefit of you, the purchaser, the most common ones that I see written into an offer are things like financing satisfactory to the purchaser. That's a super important one. Home inspection satisfactory to the purchaser. You can also ask for the seller to fill out a property disclosure statement and provide it to you, and for you to be satisfied with it within a certain time. Or if you have a house to sell, you can also make your offer subject to the sale of your existing home. Within reason, the sky is really the limit when it comes to conditions. These conditions must also have reasonable deadlines that make it clear to the seller as to how long the property will be tied up conditionally for, and to also allow the bank to approve the mortgage, give it time to approve the mortgage and order the necessary appraisals, and also give us time to book those home inspections, take those water tests, or sell that existing home if necessary. Now, once your offer has been accepted and there's now a meeting of the minds between both parties to the transaction, congratulations, you did it. We can now move on to phase 3, which is the finalization phase. Step 1 in phase 3 is working on satisfying those conditions. Once the banks approve the financing and you're satisfied with the home inspection and all disclosures have been satisfied, it's time to sign the condition satisfaction form. This will take the deal from conditional sale to firm sale. This is celebration and this is party time because you just bought a freaking home. It's time to take a picture with the sold sign, share it with your friends and family that you just became a homeowner. But wait, the fun isn't over just yet. We still have 2 more steps in the finalization phase. My job in step 2 is to ensure that all the finalized documentation has been sent to your bank or mortgage broker and also to your lawyer. Your job as the buyer is to contact your mortgage person to sign the mortgage commitment, reach out to your lawyer to set up a time to go in and sign the documents, and you have to get your home insurance set up. Home insurance is required to be in place prior to the closing date and prior to the lawyer handing over the keys. Now, if you need some great recommendations for lawyers, insurance brokers, we have access to some of the best top-notch professionals in the industry. We could definitely help set that up. You finally made it. You're at the last and final step in the process of buying a home. Step 3, possession day. Most times in Manitoba, the lawyer will give you the keys on the closing date or just before the possession date. However, there are some circumstances where I, the realtor, will hand the keys over to you in person on the date of possession. Now, depending on how you're moving on possession day, whether you hire the professional moving company, whether it's friends and family helping, or if you're doing it all by yourself, this day can also be a little bit hectic. It's important to remember a few key things to do on the date of possession and ideally before you start moving items into your home. Make sure that you take the initial meter readings for hydro and gas and the water meters. Record all of the information, call Manitoba Hydro and Public Works to set up your utility accounts. And you also want to double check that you're going to be getting all your mail forwarded or directed to the new address by contacting Canada Post. Another thing that's super important on the date of possession is to make sure, check that all the inclusions that were agreed upon in the offer and that all the mechanicals, HVAC, appliances are in good working condition, especially if the sellers have ensured that everything will be in good working condition on the date of possession. Now, if there are issues, it's important to let me and your lawyer know as soon as possible. And this is why I always recommend that the possession date occurs during the week, so that if there's a hiccup on possession, you can easily get a hold of the lawyer and let them know. Now, keep in mind, we're dealing with human beings here. Sometimes sellers will forget to take something or accidentally take something that they were supposed to leave behind. It happens. Sometimes someone's definition of clean is way different than ours. It happens. But go through the whole house, make sure everything's there, cleaned up, and is in the condition you expected it to be in on the possession date. There we have it. The 3-phase process of buying a home in Manitoba. Do you feel like an expert yet? Maybe you've got a few more questions. If you do, please don't hesitate to contact me anytime. My contact info, email, direct phone number are in the description below. My name is James Boschman. I'm a realtor with the Boschman team in eXp Realty, and I just want to thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to pumping out more content for buyers and for sellers. Stay tuned for more of this great content, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks again, and have an awesome day.